Hey, welcome to Microsoft Ignite 2020. Welcome to Microsoft Ignite 2021. It's great to see you.
In person. This is wonderful.
In person. We're not in a Teams call. We're, not on the phone, this kind of thing.
No VR.
No VR. That's right. And this is our annual PowerShell Unplugged.
Yeah, boy, I'm so excited to talk about all the great things that have been going on with PowerShell. And if you're new to PowerShell Unplugged, this is where Jason and I kind of get down. We say, hey, what are the things that excited us that are going on? And we go and demonstrate them. And, a lot of demos. We'll have a couple slides, tell you where we are, but lots of demos. And we make mistakes. That's part of the point of this. So you see, people have been doing this for 15 plus years, and they make mistakes. So then when you make mistakes, you're not beating yourself up. Don't beat yourself up. Making mistakes is natural. And you'll see that we'll make lots of mistakes.
I make lots of, they keep telling me I wear my mask wrong. So apparently I'm making mistakes. It's all good. So let's take a look at the agenda that we have here. So first of all, PowerShell continues to make you more productive. And I think we're going to show that here, both past and going on into the future of making you more productive. So for our agenda, big long list here of agenda items, we'll get through it. Are you taking full advantage of PowerShell? That's one of the things we want to check out. And of course, we're going to talk about what's our upcoming release, some of the information for that of 7.2. But then we're going to look at some other things like, oh, wow, what are we going to do with all of these native commands, these console commands? Is there something we can do with that? After all of these years, they're still out there. Not everything is a commandlet. Well, we're going to fix that too. And we're going to take a look at protecting things with like secret management, which is being released. Also, adding color to your life. If you've been using PowerShell for a long time, you're pretty much the white text on the blue screen or the white text on the black screen. Well, we're going to change some of that. And, we're going to make some new progress. We've got some new progress bars. And quite honestly, there's some new tab completion stuff to help everybody out. And you're doing some stuff in there too.
Yeah. So, I strongly believe that most people know a small fraction of the stuff that we delivered in PowerShell version 1. And so I'm going to show how some of the great stuff that we're just adding now, combined with some of the stuff that you might not know about in version 1, combined together to produce some really interesting stuff. Now, the real point of that is we're going to do some 400 level stuff. So if you get confused, don't worry about it. It's recorded. Go back. But it's all about exploring. In fact, getting ready for this, I went down some path and it didn't work out. And I had to go down another path. I'm going to show you both the path that worked and the path that didn't, because they're both very illustrative of some of the mechanics behind PowerShell. Again, PowerShell is powerful. And it's just, honestly, we just have these sessions. It's just fun. We just love exploring the tool and try that. So you're going to see some fun stuff.
Now, as Jeffrey mentioned, I'll hit it up on the slide. This Unplugged, we're doing this just having fun, and we're doing stuff that we will make mistakes on. That's okay. The interesting thing is, Jeffrey just mentioned, even if you're brand new to PowerShell, make sure you hang with the advanced session, because you'll see we make mistakes, we figure it out, we work our way around different things. It's worth the experience right there. Now, first of all, a couple of things on the slide for 7.2. We're getting ready to release 7.2. This is a long-term service release, which means we'll have 3 years. So take a look. What to expect with 7.2? Yes, we've gotten tons of bug fixes and features from the community. Thank you for coming out to GitHub and spending some time with us. We've got also lots of features outside of PowerShell that we want to talk about today. And, oh, wait a minute.
But can I say, if you're not using PowerShell 7, if you say, oh, wait, I'm waiting for a long-term service release, I'm still on PowerShell version 5, you got to get on PowerShell version 7, really. And it really is, there's some great big features. We're going to talk about those big features. But it's these little features, these little things that we have added, the community has added. It just has a completely different feel to it. It just feels so much more polished. So you're going to really enjoy that. And again, if you were on the fence saying, wait, I'm going to wait till the long-term service release is coming out, it's available when?
We are ready. And just as a little note, what about, this is probably the most commonly asked questions. When is PowerShell 7 going to ship in Windows? And then what I'd like to tell you is this, is that you probably will not see it when you first get Windows 11. But we are getting closer. We are working with the Windows team, and the Windows team and the PowerShell team, we both want the same goal of PowerShell in Windows, but we have some technical issues we're working with and we're working through to get there. But look forward to hearing more from us next year as we're getting closer to that target. Now,
But that said, it's so easy to get. I mean, you can't swing a cat without hitting a way to get PowerShell on the box.
it's so easy to get. You're going to hear us talk about all the different ways. You can get it from GitHub. You can get it from the store. As a matter of fact, let me show you the slide. How do I get general availability for PowerShell? Will be coming in November is what our current plan is. So about the time that you see this, it's going to be available. Whether you want it for Windows, Linux, Mac, different versions of Linux, it's all right there.
Yeah, right. It's Snap in Ubuntu.
In Ubuntu,
Just built in. It's crazy.
We've got PowerShell is there for you. Yep. The LTS support means that you've got 3 years of support from this release. Now, if you're working on 7.1, that was 1 year support that's coming to an end shortly. This will have 3 years long-term support. Now, as soon as I say that, I also want to point out that after our release, expect to start seeing previews from us on 7.3. So that'll be awfully exciting. Also, a big note, PowerShell 7 is available in the store. You can download it. There are so many different ways, as Jeffrey just mentioned, that you could get it. One thing that I want to highlight to you that's going to be brand new, a lot of you have asked for this, can you update PowerShell through Microsoft Update? And the answer is yes, we've added that into our later previews and will be in release. In fact, really quick, I just want to show you, I've got a link on the screen, not that I can get my mouse pointer to work with for me. I just want to show you real quick. Yes, there is a doc all about using the Microsoft Update. And I want to show you, look at this beautiful screen. You've got two options here. I don't want you to be confused by this. The first option basically adds a registry key saying, yes, you want to be updated for PowerShell. The second checkbox indicates whether you want to receive that update through Microsoft Update. Now, most of you will select both checkboxes. That's the recommended. However, those of you that have WSUS, you're using SCCM and you got WSUS, maybe you don't want it through Microsoft Update. That's why we made them both available to you. But check out this documentation for using the brand new Microsoft Update. And last but not least, before we just fully dive in, we've got lots of improvements both inside PowerShell, and here's the interesting thing, outside PowerShell. And there's a phrase that you like to use.
Yeah. So what we're really doing here, and boy, there's a lot of engineering work required to do it, but effectively what we're trying to do is to decompose PowerShell into a set of swim lanes, right? So that each team can kind of go in their swim lane and go at their own pace and not have to interact with the other teams to get their work done. And so really what we're trying to do is to increase the overall bandwidth for innovation that we deliver to you. If it's all within one thing, there's one schedule, there's one blah, blah, blah. So this allows teams to go much, much faster. And so we've broken out a number of things in the past. We're going to continue to do that, and we're going to continue to do that. So you'll see some things that are in PowerShell today. In the future, we're looking to figure out a way that we can take them out so that they can innovate faster. Can we talk about those?
Sure.
Go ahead. Okay.
Anything you want. What?
We're defining policy.
Anything the technical fellow wants to talk about. Yeah,
exactly.
Look at the basics, and we're going to have a lot more information about this, but the basics is this. We are trying very hard to move the things that make sense on the outside of PowerShell, just as Jeffrey mentioned, so that those individual things that you care about, they can be developed and worked on and shipped to you even faster. But also, wouldn't it be nice for the size of PowerShell to be reduced with stuff that you don't need? It's easier to secure. It works better in different scenarios. So we're working on that as well. So the idea being, we're building a lot of stuff outside of PowerShell, and that's where you want to enjoy your experience with PowerShell. You can add the things in that you need. You ready to go? You
Let's
want to do this? So now we're going to get started on our first demos. But before we dive in with this first demo, Jeffrey, we actually did this demo last year. We started this demo. What I did is we were talking about this as it was kind of an experiment, a proof of concept. Now, thanks to you and everybody for all your help, we're getting ready to release something called PowerShell Crescendo. And yeah, but let me just show you how cool this is. First of all, when PowerShell V1 came out, there was like
128.
What's that?
128 commandlets.
There's the guy. I think it was 129. No, I'm sure you're right, 128. Now, here's the thing though, but when PowerShell V1 came out, it also shipped with, at the same time that Exchange 2007. Now, Exchange added another 500 commandlets for managing Exchange, but let's face it, folks, 128 commandlets, that wasn't a whole lot to manage with. Today, we have thousands, but not everything is a commandlet. Let's face it, it's easier for a lot of development to go right to a console command. And so you see a lot of console commands, both legacy and brand new. Well, we've got a way for you to be able to take care of that. So let me kind of dive in here and show you really quick. Come on, mouse pointer, you can do it.
And just to be clear, we're fine with that. If you recall, PowerShell, the very first time I started talking about PowerShell, I said, the world always has been, the world is, and the world always will be a messy place. And the goal of PowerShell is to allow you to manage that messy place and to be able to turn it into a place of predictability. And so we start off with PowerShell commandlets written in .NET. Then we added the ability to write them in PowerShell. But really, we broke the back of critical mass of PowerShell commandlets when we said, hey, you can write them in WMI. And so we did WMI, and then we put a PowerShell, high-level task-oriented abstraction on top of that. And then Azure, gazillions of commands, those are all using REST APIs. So here what we're going to show you is, hey, we can just produce some new commandlets, but what powers them is a native, what do you call it, legacy? Alternate parser CLI. It's like, that's fine, whatever.
I love your description of the world's a messy place, because let's see if we can take some of the mess out of it. So take a look at my screen over here, and I'm gonna, first of all, I'm running on one of our latest previews. By the time you see this, it will be released. So you all know the ipconfig command. Let me just go ahead and run that for you. We live and breathe off ipconfig, but you notice if you're looking at my screen, I'll do ipconfig and do a /all real quick. What I have a hard time doing is grabbing that IPv4 address so that I could use it in my automation. I just want the IP address, but that's gonna be hard. I have to figure out how to scrape this string and all of that. Wouldn't it be cool if, instead of that, I could just have a commandlet? In my case, I'll do -all. So I've got get ipconfig. Isn't that cool? That's pretty cool. But here's the best part. Get ipconfig, not only is it a commandlet, but all of that output that you're seeing, that's in an object. And for a PowerShell user, when the data is in an object, we have now complete control over it in the pipeline. So as you can see here, if I wanted to use that for automation, I could select and just grab that IPv4 address. I'm rocking and rolling. Now that's what we had talked about before, but we've added more stuff.
Really?
We've added the ability for you to be able to handle elevation with your commands.
Oh.
We've added a lot of features to handle the scenarios that you're in. Let me show you really quick. Oh, this is cool. Let me show you really quick how to elevate a command. I'm sure you've all worked with the Windows firewall, and if you're an IT person, sometimes you just want to turn it off, do something really quick to test something, and then you want to turn it back on because you want the security. Well, I want to turn it off and then turn it back on real quick. How many, look at my screen, how many of you ever used the netsh command? That's an easy command to work with. So in this case, if I wanted to turn off the firewall, wow, I'll never remember any of this. But what I've done is I've let PowerShell Crescendo take care of this for me. So now I can set Win firewall. In my case, it's already on. I'll set it to off. And here, what I want you to notice is this. It's going to come up. Well, first of all, it's not going to do anything because it wasn't recognized. Let me quickly, ow, I know why. I can show you ipconfig. Oh, let's do this. Let me go into
Remember
Ignite.
that part about we're going to make mistakes?
This would be one of them. So I'm letting the cat out of the bag a little bit, but it's good that you can see this now. I'm going to import a module. This module was built for me by Crescendo.
By Crescendo.
And now what I'll do is set that firewall off. And what I want you to notice, it's prompting me for credentials. The reason is to change the state of the firewall, you need to be an administrator.
Oh.
So this is pretty simple. I'm just going to dive right in and type in administrator and put in my password. And you're going to see that it's going to, whoops, it popped up and turned the firewall off. So we have command elevation. It's all good. I should show you, though, how I actually did it really quickly.
Cool.
So I'll be very brief. Let's do code. So the interesting...
So can I highlight?
Yeah.
Wrapping the native commandlet in a PowerShell with Crescendo basically transforms a command with question mark syntax, right? Everybody's got their own syntax. And then -l, what does -l mean? I don't know. So what it does is it says, hey, we know what we expect as a PowerShell commandlet. Verb -noun, dash parameter name that makes sense to us. And then when I get the output, I get objects because I don't want to do this prayer-based parsing. Go down 28, 27, 23 lines, go over so many, oh, there's a tab, blah, blah, blah. Prayer-based parsing, that's very fragile because as soon as they update it, it breaks all your scripts. So instead you put it into objects. So that's what you're getting here.
Now, really quick, how Crescendo works is you as the author that wants to take whatever console command, I refer to it as native command, platform specific, Linux, Mac, or Windows we can do this with. That's the important part. You can take that, and if you take a look at the screen, there is PowerShell Crescendo. You need to download this from the gallery in order to author your own Crescendo commands. Once you do that, you go in and you create a JSON file. This is the configuration file. You just need to add a few settings in there. Tell me what verb, what noun you'd like to have it, what original native command it points to, and tell me what you'd like to call the parameters. And I'll show you a quick example. Once you do that in this very simple JSON, now Crescendo does the magic for you. You export this using the export commandlet, and what you'll get at the end is a module, not just any kind of module, a PowerShell module, a pure, clean PowerShell module. And here's the best part. That module can be deployed to any system on your network. It can be shared with other people in the gallery. And the best part is,
it doesn't need Crescendo, correct?
It does not need Crescendo, but
Crescendo's an authoring tool.
Yeah, Crescendo's the authoring side. But once you deploy this module, it's fine all by itself. And take a look at my screen right here. As soon as I lost my mouse, there's my mouse. I'm going to go into Notice this is Windows PowerShell. And here's the best part. So I'm going to go into where I have...
like PowerShell version 5.
Windows PowerShell 5.1. That's the one. Yeah, Windows PowerShell. It's beautiful. It's great. I'm going to go into PowerShell 5.1 and I'm going to load this module. Import IMPO. There we go. Import the module. And not the alias module, and make this IP config. Now watch, get IP config, select IPv4. Whoops. There it goes.
Oh my goodness.
So Crescendo will let you wrap everything. It'll work down level to Windows PowerShell 5.1. That's pretty cool. And also Crescendo will let you work on Linux, so you can wrap Linux commands. You can wrap whatever makes you happy. Now, the best part about this, well, no, I've already told you the best part, but let me show you another part to it, just really quick. I'm going to show you what a...
So while you're figuring that out, let me just highlight, this is one of the values of breaking things into their own swim lanes. So Crescendo, awesome features, awesome functionality, and we didn't want to say, oh, and the only way you want to get that is if it's the latest version of PowerShell. So when we break things out, each technology can decide what makes sense for it. Does it make sense to go down level? Does it sense to, et cetera? So maximum flexibility, maximum bandwidth for innovation.
Maximum flexibility. Now, folks, what I've got on my screen right now is that little short configuration file that you need to create in order to use Crescendo. Now, we have commandlets that will help you get started on creating this, and you'll be able to fill in. We've got plenty of documentation that we're coming out with as it gets released. In this case, what I'd like to do is just show you really briefly. I've specified the verb, the noun, the native command. I've gone through and I've specified some parameters. That's all I did for the IP config one, but for elevation, and the reason I want you to see the elevation is you can, of course, do that with Crescendo. The reason I'd like you to see the elevation is I want to change it. So same kind of idea. You see the verb, the noun, the string to the native command. You'll see parameters, but in this section down here, we now support elevation. On Windows, we support Windows elevation through Start Process. We also make it so that you can change to your own elevation provider if you want to use something different. On Linux, you just use the sudoers file, as any Linux admin would do. So that's pretty straightforward, but I want you to notice here, I've got dash credential, and right now I'm saying get credential. That's why it said, hey, put in your username and password. I could easily change this to get secret of Jason. Get secret is our new secret management. And our new secret management is a vault that you can have on your system You have commandlets that'll let you manage secrets, and you can put secrets into it, pull secrets out of it. So there's no reason to run a script again with username and password in it.
Yeah.
Can we just say that that's a bad idea?
That's a terrible idea. Yeah, and so, we've been passionate about this. We've done a bunch of things in PowerShell from the very beginning to help avoid using passwords. But it turns out that API keys and legacy commandlets, et cetera, that passwords are still ending up in the scripts no matter what. So what we did was we invented this new technology, secrets management. And really, it's just you can think of it as a keychain or key vault. And basically it says, I'm going to put my keys in here, give them a name, and then when I want them, I ask for them by name and I get them. And so then in your script, you just say, grab the secret, the password, grab the secret for my Azure, storage API. And it pulls it out, and then you use that variable in your script. And the great thing about this is that then that vault can be personal, it can be on your machine, or you can have a team vault hosted up in Azure. And this is a pluggable system, so partners can go do the same thing in other cloud vendors. You can have any number of implementations that you want. And so when you do it in Azure Key Vault, then all of a sudden we write this one script and we hand it around, and then everybody's able to just run it as long as they have permissions to the Azure Key Vault.
I think the important part is that the idea is that your problem needs to be able to scale. So when you start it with it small, PowerShell's there to help you. As you grow, of course, when you need to scale, you always look to the cloud, and the cloud is going to help you there. So this is like it's the perfect solution. I wish we had this 15 years ago, right? If you take a quick look at my screen, I want you to be able to find secret management. Secret management has already GA'd. It's in 1.1. You can get it from the gallery, as I have there. And something else I wanted to point out to you, notice how I did my find module, secret management star. That'll give you a list of the different types of stores or vaults that you can use with secret management. You'll notice some familiar ones that you may already be working with. That a lot of the community wrote these.
What?
I know, the community's amazing. They did all of this.
Seriously?
Yeah, the community jumped in and did this. So make sure you stay secure. Make sure you run your script secured for your automation. Now you have secret management and a vault to do that with.
And again, the scripts, it's not just internally. Now all of a sudden I can take a script and I can, it requires secrets, and I can publish it to the world, not with my secrets, but a reference to the secret up in the cloud or in some vault. And then when I say, you want to run it, different company,
right,
you just have to get your key into the vault with the same name, and then the script runs without modifications. In fact, I could digitally sign the script and give it to you, and you can just trust me, put your key up there, everything works.
I absolutely trust you.
Good choice.
Also, and Jeffrey, here's the neat thing. Did you even notice my screen? Did you notice something kind of weird? Because if I was running this demo in PowerShell 5, this would be white text on blue. What do you notice here? You notice is it all white text?
Yeah, no. Colors.
We have colors. Now look, we're starting to, add in some colors and let you have some control over colors. And so the idea here is we're starting off small, but we're working on this. You can now control the colors for a lot of things. And let me just kind of start this out by saying $PS style. That gives you a list of things that you can colorize and the different colors you can use. And I encourage you to take a look at this list. You might be surprised at some of the things that you might see there. Like,
and it's important to do that, because when you just run PS style, like I did, you see the last set of things, and it looks like it's just a set of enumerations for color, ASCII sequences to set a color. But if you scroll up, you see, oh no, it's that and a bunch more.
So you can add these settings to your profile, but don't add them to your profile until you've decided what colors that you want. Let me give you a quick example. So I'm going to change the table headers. If I can, keep this. So notice right now they're green. I don't like green. I do like green. I just want to make them something else. So I will do $PS style dot format. Now, fortunately, I've got tab completion to help me through this, and I want to do the table header, and I want to set this equal to PS style dot. I think it was. No, is it foreground?
Yep.
And
you have foreground or background, and then a color. And you can also have an arbitrary RGB value. That's a function.
So I've changed it. theoretically,
What'd you change to?
well, I kind of like hot pink. It's a little red. And it's a little red. Also, you'll notice you can change things for your executables, your PowerShell files to get them to stand out a little bit better. You can add these settings into your profile.
Yeah, notice the first one there, artifacts, right? So that's a directory, and so we have a light blue background to make it pop.
Now, besides colors,
Yeah.
we've also added something. We hope this will make you feel better. It certainly makes me feel better. Taking a look at my screen, you guys remember, when you do something that takes some progress, you get the big progress bar that goes ooh like that?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So, yeah, you know what it looks like, right? Ooh. Well, yeah, ooh. So you got to say it. You got to say it. I was kind of hoping we'd let you change that where you could put in whatever you wanted, but we never did.
Me too.
So let's do this. I'm going to do the progress bar now under PowerShell 7.2. Look at that. Nice, tight, clean, very nice. And of course, you can always change the color of this with PS style if you want to change. But let me show you a cute trick. When I'm in my Mac, this is kind of a cool trick. I'm going to bring up the terminal in my Mac. First of all, this still never stops me from being just thrilled to death when I can do this. Watch, I'm on a Mac and I'm going to launch PowerShell. And it just thrills me to no end that this works today. Thank you to everyone that worked on PowerShell 6. Steve, right on. So here, I'll just do update help really quick so you can see a progress bar. But what I want you to notice is when this gets going, I'm going to actually add 2 tabs. So this one's going to start running the update any second. And what you'll do is you'll see a spinning ball up here in the corner so that when I go to this tab, I can go back to work. And this spinning ball will turn to a bright blue thing when it's all done. I think you can do that on Windows. Do you?
Yes.
You figured this out for me because I had this problem. We were figuring this out. And I'm like, it works great on my Mac. And he's like, it doesn't work on Windows. I don't know why. Do you want to...
I forgot.
Tell them how they, I think.
$ PS.
Oh, here's that spinny ball. Oh, and now it's blue. It's spinning and it's blue. So you can see it's over here doing its thing. And now he's done.
Yeah, so if you can go to mine, so there's a $PS style OSC indicator, and its default on Windows is false. And so if you just set that to true or 1, then if you do the same thing, what'd you do? Update help?
Yeah, just to get a quick.
And there it is. There's the little thing. So notice how this is different. And now I can be working in this script, in this tab, and I can just kind of monitor what's going on in that other one. Oh, it's still working, so I can't use that one for a while. I can just work in this one. Very cool.
By the way, what do you think of Windows Terminal?
Oh my God. Well, you know, it reminded when we showed I first demoed PowerShell to Bill Gates, and he said, wow, this is clearly an example of going from the worst in the industry to the best. And my feeling is that that's what the Windows Terminal folks have done. Because Command.exe, man, that was sad. I mean, it's just sad.
That console was very sad.
And that now Windows Terminal is just freaking amazing.
So back in the day when PowerShell v1 came out, for me, one of the most helpful things is tab completion.
Tab completion.
Now, just so that everybody, if you're just starting off with PowerShell, let me show you real quick what tab completion is. When you start typing, you can, now, if you're a touch typist, yeah, what I do is I stick my pinky up over the tab key because I end up using that more than anything else on my keyboard. So when I start typing, if I start typing get, ch, and I hit the tab key, it will auto-complete that for me. Now let me back up. If I only put in get-c and I start hitting tab, it'll cycle through everything that'll match that. And I can hit shift-tab and cycle backwards. But wait, it gets better. Once you have a commandlet tab completion, first of all, it makes it easier to spell. I'm a terrible typist, so this saves a lot. Also, when you get to a parameter, I hit dash and I hit the tab key, it'll start cycling through the available parameters. So if my memory isn't as good, I can go, oh, that's the one I wanted, and fill it in. Yeah. Tab completion, for me, is one of the best discoverability and one of the most helpful things ever. It really solved with PowerShell.
PS read line.
PS read line.
Jason.
Woohoo, woohoo. But You know, tab completion does a great job for commandlets and for parameters. But once you've figured out some rockin' command with pipelines and all that, tab completion doesn't really help you with that. Also, a couple of other things. How do you guys get help? Now, if you're like me, you update your help and you use help on your local system, but whenever you do get help and you do something like get child item, man, it takes up my screen and I got to read it, so I have to go to another tab, or I bring up another console windows and I work and I read and Well, we've done some improvements around tab completion in the PS readline module so that to make your life a little bit better. First of all, let me just solve the help problem for you. If I type in get child item right now and I want help for this, today you press, oh no, I have no function keys. You press F1. F1 will take you to this virtual terminal. So the help is being displayed. You can arrow up and you can go through. It's the full help. And notice you can hit Q and it takes you right back to where you're working. So no matter what you're doing, in fact...
Not escape colon Q?
Not escape colon, that's right. You don't have to worry about what keyboard things do I have to do now.
So it's a VI joke.
Yeah, it's a VI joke. So also on parameters, take a look. If I do F1 when I'm up on a parameter, it'll take me right to the help for the parameter.
That is so helpful.
Let me tell you, I wish we had this with V1. Although V1, how it handled help was fantastic, this is a little bit better. I appreciate this a lot more. And my favorite part is you can copy the example, whatever, and it takes you right back to where you were working so that you don't have to have multiple windows going and all that kind of stuff. This is great. But you've probably seen this already on my screen in light green. Another way that we wanted to help you was with all those big commands. So when I start typing something, you're going to see there's a whole command prediction here. And this is part of our new Predictive Intellisense that's a part of PS Readline. And what this does is pretty simple. It takes a look at your history. Now, if you've been working with PowerShell for a long time, especially since the V1 days, what we did is we record your history in that session, and you can use get history and go look at it, all that kind of stuff, but it was just for that session. PS Readline records your history through all of your sessions. Much more useful. So now you can get suggestions from your history. Anytime you correctly complete a command can now be part of this predictive history. And so what we found is this. If you're a highly experienced PowerShell user, this really accelerates you. Whoa, you can bang through it really quick. If you're new to if you're new to PowerShell, it'll help you, but I've got something else for you. But before we get there, let me just show you. With Predictive Intellisense, there's a couple of views. I'm gonna do get-C. Oh, I'm not doing a good job. Get-C. Yes, but if I press F2, this gives you what's called a list view. So we've got two views. List view, where you can see a whole long list of options and you can arrow down and select the one that you want. Or some of you that are more comfortable with the Z shell or Rust experience like I am, you want the inline view. But here's the best part. It's not like you have to go out and reconfigure all of this. Just hit F2 and flip between them and use whichever one at the moment solves your problem. So you've got two different views that you can use on this. What do you think? Is that kind of cool? That a little
cool? Crazy good. By the way, we make less mistakes in PowerShell Unplugged now than we used to.
And that's the test. If you notice, if you've watched these before, notice we're making a lot less mistakes. But the interesting thing about this is that the other perspective we want to look at this is we didn't want to just help you with what you've already done successfully. What if you're newer to PowerShell and you needed some help with understanding what commands are available, what parameters are available? Let me give you an example. First of all, when you get PS Readline, this feature isn't going to be turned on. Here's how you turn it on. You set PS Readline, and thank you, Predictor, that's close. Set PS Readline option, and I'm going to do prediction source history. That will enable this historical predictor. We don't have it turned on by default because we kind of figured it'd confuse everybody at first if they saw it. Now, that'll give you the history one, but if you're working with some additional plugins, there's one plugin that's written today for Azure PowerShell. I'm going to turn that on, and here's the best part. Now when you start typing, new AZ, take a look what's on my screen and being predicted. Now that Azure Predictor is predicting these aren't in my history. It's predicting the full commands. Here's the best part. F2. Oops, there's nothing in my list for F2. I don't know why. Usually there is. Let's see if I get it this way. Well, I'm not getting it. Let's do resource group. Oh, I know why. The internet from here is a little bit slow. And so that's causing me an issue with this predictor display. But you kind of get the idea because you can see what's being displayed already on there. So this predictor will not only give you suggestions for commands, but as you move through the Azure commands, if you filled out the arguments, it'll reuse those arguments when it makes sense. So if you created a resource group and now you want to create a VM, it'll auto-populate that for you into those arguments for those parameters. It'll really not only accelerate you, but teach you as you go to work with it. So we hope that predictors like this will really help newer people.
So you're seeing AI getting introduced step by step. You know, one of the things we want to be able to do is to run AI against the full corpus of public domain PowerShell commands to see what are the patterns. When somebody does get foo, what are the typical parameters they use, and then highlight those, you know, make them more prominent as opposed to having to cycle through everything. So watch that space. There's just so much innovation coming in there.
Yeah, watch the space that we're doing. So the predictive intellisense, things, and we refer internally as this as dynamic help, things like hitting F1 to get the help. These are new tools for you to use that will help accelerate you, and we hope with the AI help teach you some of the things that maybe you didn't already know. So that's what, you know, we were talking about tab completion improvements, and I'm like, dude, this is a pretty good one, but there's more actually with tab completion stuff.
So what I was going to show is that, you know, the tab completions also works for values, okay? So what does that mean? So I can say get, I'll just do GPS, I have to format table, and I can say, you know, but wait, notice here, start to tab. What's that? These are the properties available from get process, okay? And I can also say dash view. And I don't know, did you know that format table had a view? Very few people use this.
I don't think.
This is awesome. So the default, when I just do this, let me just show you. Get process W star, format table. Okay, that is actually the view. That is the process view. Okay, but
okay, I don't even think I knew that.
Yeah. Tab complete says, oh look, there are these other things like priority and start time. So start time, in fact, what you want to do is you want to sort first by start time, sort by start time, and then here, let's just clear this first. And then look at this. So now what we've done is it says it's sorted things by start time, and you're formatting the processes based upon, you know, grouping them on start time. So these things started a couple days ago, and these things started today. Crazy stuff. So then I was looking at this, I was like, oh yeah, this thing's awesome, right? Format table, view, and check this out, version info. And so I said, Jason, you got a bug. Like, version info? Look, it gives me an error. So what the heck? And he's like, no, Jeffrey, you forgot. You know so much you forgot. It turns out that get process, I don't know if you knew this, check this out, / include username, file version info. So get process, file version info, and then this is showing you the files associated with the particular processes, right? So if you said, well, what? Get process, let's make this clear. Get process PowerShell, type 2, minus file version info, right, table view. That's the path to PowerShell. By the way, that's the path when you install it from the store. So crazy cool stuff. Cool stuff.
One of the things that Jeffrey's showing you here is, and some of you may be kind of going, wait a minute, he's hitting tab to get the views. See, the reason that none of us knew that there were additional views out there is because, well, we didn't know, and you had to manually type them in. But one of the things that we've lit up for 7.2 is on views, which there are some out there that you're going to want, you can now get with tab completion. And that's why we ran across the file info one and went, hey, this is cool. And then it broke, and there's like, oh no, we have to turn it on with the commandlet, and it worked beautifully. Hey, that's really cool. I like that a lot.
So yeah, it's except, so look at this, right? It's like, okay, well, I got colorized table headers, but everything else is the same, right? Whereas when I do a dir, look here, I get all this nice colors, right? Yellow for the PS1s, etc. If I had and so I thought, hey, I want to go down a path and I want to explore making my colorized output. Now, PS style is hard-coded to a set of scenarios, but I'm going to show you how, using techniques in PowerShell version 1, you can do the same thing. And I'm going to show you a path, show you it didn't turn out, and then show you the proper way to do it. But first, what I said was, PowerShell has an adaptive type system. So I said was, hey, I'm just going to modify the type system so that when you ask for process name, you get it colorized.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
So what's that mean? Okay, so first, let's go here and say, this is update type data. Okay, so update type data, you can modify the type system. What's that mean? You'll see. So first you got to tell us, well, what kind of type do you want? I say system diagnostic process. And then what do I want to do? Well, I want to add a member type. It's a script property. Its member name is new process name, and its value is this script. Okay? And so here, just so you see what the script says is, hey, if the session ID equals 0, which basically is a system session, just define a variable color to be red, otherwise make it green, and then emit this script. So basically it says emit the color and the process name and then reset, okay? So let's see what that says. And so now, I add this, and what I can do now is, so first off I say get process, get member, star name. You see now I've got this new process name here. Yeah. And whereas this is a process name as a property, this is a script property. So you've modified the type system. Now this only happens for this session. So if you want it to persist across sessions, there are other ways to do that. But now what I can do is I can say get process W star, back to format table. Oh, no, I could say format table. Let's say ID, name, process name, new process name. And look at that.
Whoa.
All of a sudden, it comes out.
It looks Christmassy. I love that.
Christmassy. Very nice. Yes, it is Christmassy. Okay, so that's cool, but now I want to refine it. So first is, this is really cool, except I really don't like this, okay? Now, some people like this, but I think you can do better with something we added in PowerShell. Which version did we add? I don't know. We just recently added it. It's called the Ternary Operator.
Oh, yeah, 7.0. I think it was 7.0, right? I think 7.0. It's PowerShell 7 is when we added it. It's either 7.0 or 7.1.
Oh, by the way, I forgot to say, this one I wanted to show for yucks. So look at this. So now what I'm going to do, by the way, so I don't know if you know this. Question is, how do you know what the type is? So you say get process, pipe 2, pipe 2, pipe 2, get member. I promised you errors. Pipe to get member. And it shows you all the properties. Yeah. But up at the top there, it tells you the type. Okay? So it tells you the type. There's another way you can do it, and that is $A, $B equals get process, $A, that's one process, $A.ps type names. This tells you the type hierarchy. Okay, so every type starts in system.object, and then it gets refined. As it gets refined, it gets more properties, gets more methods, etc. So check this out. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to go and I'm going to say, hey, everything that has system.object, which is basically everything, I'm going to add a property, and this time a note property called PSOwner, and its value is JPS. So what's that mean? That means one.PSOwner is JPS. I say get process pipe to W star pipe to format ID name PSOwner. Everything in the entire system now has a property called PSOwner, and I own it all, baby. Anyway, so this is just some of the power of the type system. This is a type system you can modify anything, plugging things on there. So now what I'm going to do is talk about this ternary operator, okay? So first is the code as it typically works, right? That is this. So you have an if statement. So I'll say if $true, then use PowerShell, otherwise rocks, and assign that to a variable X, and then I emit it, okay? And so it's true, so you get PowerShell. If it's false, you get rocks. Now, I gave it in this one line instead of spread out because this sets us up to show you the ternary operator. And basically what it does says, okay, now I get rid of the if, and after this, I put question mark, and the else I change to colon, and then I have to change these squiggles to brackets. And now it does essentially the same thing. So basically it says a ternary operator is this format, this syntax, and if something's false, it returns the second value, and if it's true, it returns the first. So we assign that to X, and then we emit X. So rocks, and then...
Just as a quick note, if you're saying, well, I can already write an if statement, why would I even mess with the ternary operator? First of all, a lot of folks like the ternary operator because it makes their code easier for them to read. Now, it may not make it easier for you to read, but you should be aware that the ternary operator is out there, how it looks, because you're going to start seeing an awful lot of demos, a lot of scripts written using the ternary operator, and you don't want to you don't want that to throw you off. One other side note for this, if you use a ternary operator, your scripts aren't going to work down level on Windows PowerShell 5.1.
Good point. But I really like it, so I tend to use it. So now I'm going to do the same thing, but you see, to me, this code is much more pleasing. So I go ahead and do that, and then do it again, get process. What was it? Name, new name, voila. Okay, so now it's the same. But notice, like, I got to keep adding this new process name, right? So I did that for scaffolding. What I really want to do is to say, no, I just want to change the process name.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do now is to change that and say, now I override the thing, okay?
Oh, I like the sound of that. You're going to override process name so you get it colorized the way that you want it.
Yes, okay?
Totally
so now when you go and I just say get process and it asks for process name, it's going to run my code. And it's going to fail.
Oh!
Any guesses why? Here's what happens. So I went to the type system. I modified the type system itself. This PowerShell is so incredibly powerful. You modify the type system itself, and I go to processes, and I say it has a process, a new parameter, a property called process name, and it blows up, of course. Yeah, it's going to blow up. It has a new thing called process name, and here's its value. And look here, part of its value is this dot process name.
Oh,
so in trying to evaluate it, it refers to it, and so it cycles
back to itself.
It took a while before it blew up the stack and blew up. So now let's use this to highlight the type system, like what's really going on there, and how do you avoid this problem? And so first, let's do this, right? So I'll do this with sim because it's a little bit more interesting, right? So I'll get the BIOS, $B. Oh, okay, great. So then I say, well, what really is going on here? And by the way, so when I have this, $B, you can do things like just specify the name. Well, that's great. But what do I really have? B pipe to get member. Yeah. And it looks like I have this nice object with all these wonderful properties.
Yeah,
it turns out there's a lot, right? And in fact, if I did that really, I'd say format list star, there's quite a few properties there. So we have this view of it, okay? But what's really going on, right? That thing there is in fact a fiction, right? If I do this for real, I say $B pipe to get member minus view. Remember view? Mm-hmm. Okay. There are different views. There's an adapted view, which is what you generally see. There's an all view, and there's a base view. The base, remember I said PowerShell is about making your life simple. Part of that is taking wacky type systems like sim and turn it into something that makes sense to you. Because guess what? If you had to deal with sim, this is what you'd really be seeing. You'd see this.
Oh, Jeffrey, there's nothing useful there. I mean, there's not the stuff that tells me, I mean, this all of a sudden got harder.
Every single sim object looks exactly like this.
No.
There's sim instance properties and there's sim system properties. So remember when I did that $B.name, right? What you actually have to do is $B dot, and now here's the trick to get to the base object. Every object in PowerShell has a property, we don't really talk about it much, called PS base. That gets to the core object. That is the real thing, okay? So if you wanted to get its name and we just PowerShell didn't do its magic for you, here's what you do. PS name dot sim instance properties, then name.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, that's not it. That gives you this funky data structure. So then you got to ask for its value. So you could ask for that or B.name. Okay, so that's why we have this adaptive type system. Now, remember $p.ps type names. This gives you the hierarchy. Now notice here, remember I said everything starts with system.object, and it does. And then it's system.instance. But then notice everything after that has this pound sign. This is PowerShell's synthetic type system. Because every SIM object, be it a BIOS, be it a process, be it a disk, an IRQ, everything, basically is these first two things. It's a SIM instance. But how does that help you, right? We want to say, oh, if it's a BIOS, show it this way. If it's an IRQ, display it that way. If it's a process, display it that way. And so we've got no hat to hang our hook on. So what we do is we produce this synthetic type hierarchy on top of it. And so this is all just made up stuff, okay? So
I like the made up stuff, but obviously, we need to get to the real object in order to solve the problem of recursion.
Exactly. And so
I say obviously, I'm just following along.
Therein lies the trick. So now what we do is we're going to go add this system. That was all about showing you how you get around this problem. The problem was I adapted the type system, but I adapted it in a way that created this recursion. So what I want to do is I want to say, hey, I want to replace the existing thing, but then when you go to get the value, I need to refer to the core object. I want to refer to the PS base process name. So this is the same thing. The only thing I added here was this PS base. And therefore, when I add process name, it gets it. So now, go ahead, add that. And when I ask for these, voila, look at that. That's
That
a
is
beautiful thing.
amazing.
So now I don't, and by the way, so look here. So it shows this way, but then also if I want to say get process pipe to format table name, ID name, it shows up. If I say $P equals GPS LSASS, and I said $P dot name, everywhere you ask for the name, process name, it shows up. This is crazy, okay? Except it doesn't work. No, it works. It works.
I just see it. I see it right here. What are you talking about? It doesn't work.
So imagine I say get process $P dot name. Sorry, minus name P dot name. Look, it complains.
Why is it complaining?
Because now the name has an ASCII sequence in front of it saying turn the screen red. And so if I said PS base dot name, that doesn't work. Anyway, process name. It does work.
There you go.
So it's like, yeah, works, and it's cool, fantastic tool. But for this technique, that wasn't the right technique.
Right.
The right technique is, in fact, to extend the view system. Okay, so notice when I get process, I'm not specifying a bunch of stuff, right? It just happens. Why is that? There's a whole bunch of defaulting going on underneath the covers. So let me show you a little bit about that. Oh, by the way, there was one thing before. If you don't mind, I'll show you one more thing.
Yeah.
So back to that. Get process objects are the things that we really kind of, built the type system, used it as our playground for building the type system. So get process pipe to get member minus view extended. This shows you all the extensions, all the difference between the base object and the object that you get, okay? And so look at here. We have alias properties. That's why I'm able to type name, and it maps to get name. That's why if you type handles, it maps to handle count. Because when you're in front of 700 people and you forget the O in handle count, it's a terrible demo. And so I never make that mistake again. I always use handles. And then we've got code properties, node properties, property set, script properties. So the idea is property set. What's that mean? Well, imagine I say get process, LSASS, pipe to format table, PS configuration. So it's a name that maps to a set of names. So if you want to get some things, you always want to select something. I can say, I think I can say this, GPS star pipe to select PS configuration. I specify one thing, and it pulls out all those parameters.
Wow.
Yeah. So the type system's crazy fun.
And there's a couple of morals here. First of all, this all started because we enabled the feature of tab completion so that you could tab complete views, which you didn't know you had, but now you know you had.
Yes.
That was the first thing. The second thing is that Well, with PowerShell, you can always solve the problem. As you see, Jeffrey went down and went, hey, I want to take some PS style, add some color. I want it to be specific to this. It blew up, and hey, I can still, well, let me drill into this further. Let me figure out another way to do it. PowerShell always enables you. Sometimes you have to drill deeper, but you can do it.
Yeah, and the key thing is to hopefully get you to sense, understand what's behind the covers and, encourage you to explore and have fun. So obviously this path didn't quite work the way to do it. The right way to do this is in fact with formatting. So with formatting, what we have here is my formatting. I created a format table. Okay.
Yes.
Now, the way to do this is to go find an existing format table and to copy it and modify it. And what I did was I found the format table. It was actually in PowerShell version 5 that had the .NET types.format.ps1xml.
That's the one you want.
And what it says here is, hey, I got view definitions, and here we select this by process name. So basically what happens is it says, oh, you emit an object and the formatting system gets it and says, what is its type? And it looks here and says, oh, I found it. Somebody's got it. This is how to format it. And if you don't find anything, it then walks down the type hierarchy. Okay. So now what we do is it says, oh, I want to do it as a table. You specify all the table columns and then the values, or how to generate the values. And here's what I've done is I've taken that code from before. Color says, hey, depending upon the session ID, make it red, otherwise make it green, and then emit the string, giving the color and the process
PS-based
object.
Process name, okay.
And then you do a reset. You always do a reset to get rid of because when you set one of these colors, it changes it for everything going afterwards. So what you do is you set it, emit your text, and then reset. Okay, so now that's in this XML file. And so what I do is then I've got to update the format data. And you want to say prepend because it's ordered, like, hey, do you put it at the end or do you put it at the beginning? Here, I'm overriding the existing stuff, so I want to prepend it. And I say verbose because why not? So now I've taken that XML file, I've defined a new way to do it, and so then whenever it says get process, a process object gets emitted, says, hey, what do I do with this thing? Does this selection, finds, system.diagnostic.process. This is the formatting to use. When you go to emit process name, run this script and emit these colors.
Couple of little side notes though. So you want to make your own view and you want to grab your own PS1 XML file? You can. They're located where PowerShell is installed, but be careful. What Jeffrey had done out of the .NET, I can't remember the .NET PS, yeah, that one, what Jeffrey had done was he copied a section out of it. Don't modify the actual ones. You're going to notice those are signed, and that would not be good.
That'd be a bad day.
That'd be bad.
You're going to have a bad day. Yeah, and I got to say, I'm just going to go ahead and apologize. That XML is hideously complex. It is not a happy day, and I screw it up every time that I do it. Because there's tricks, like sometimes you don't have to specify the name and the width, and therefore we'll just pick the right. It's a mess, but you can get it.
Well, sir, guess what? It's happened again.
So we're out of time.
Yeah, take a look at my slide. What's next? Well, again, 7.2 is generally available probably at the moment you're seeing this video. Again, just to remind you, it's LTS support, so you get 3 years of support on this. This is our long-term one. Remember, you can now get this from the store. You can now get updates from Microsoft Update for it and update your way through your PowerShell experience. We've got lots of improvements in a lot of the things that we talked about here. Also, one little note to mention, we got DSC. Yep, we're working on DSC as well. Woohoo! Now, what can you do? Well, first of all, get PowerShell 7.2. Look, folks, it runs side by side on your Windows box next to Windows PowerShell 5.1. So if you're thinking, well, I'm afraid I might break something, hey, put it on your box. You can now test everything really quick. You're off and ready to go. We've got lots of projects out at github.powershell. That's where you'll find all of the stuff with us. And of course, if you want to follow the team or Mr. Snover or myself, you certainly can. And in summary, well, PowerShell does make you more productive, no matter what, wherever you are.
Hey, did you give a shout out to the conference coming up?
Hey, you know what? As a matter of fact, I may have it in here. Oh, I do, with a link. Hey, we're going to be working at a conference celebrating PowerShell's 15th birthday. Come join us at the Automation and DevOps Summit. That'll be occurring, it's right around November. PowerShell's birthday is the 14th. I think this conference starts on the 15th, so we will be doing a slightly belated, but a happy birthday.
That's a tradition.
Yeah, one day.
And it's a virtual conference, correct?
Yeah, this year it's a virtual conference. They really wanted to do it in person. Come back next year, we'll do it in person. This year it's virtual. It's going to be a blast, multiple tracks, all that kind of great stuff. And it's funny because I've got this up here. It says we're 21 years into PowerShell, but PowerShell's only 15 years old. You started this a long time ago. Well, just from everyone, first of all, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to PowerShell. And thanks for 21 years of making one of the best products I've ever seen in my life. Makes us all better because what's the best tool you have in your toolbox? It's going to be PowerShell.
Oh, thank you so much. And I hope you got a lot out of this session. If anything, I just hope that you walk away with hey, PowerShell's fun. There's some cool stuff coming down the road, and it's great to explore. There's so much there, so much to do. And when you do that, you make mistakes. Again, a lot of those at the beginning, and make mistakes all the time. That's normal. Do not beat yourself up. And don't stop when you make a mistake. No, when you make a mistake, lean in, reach out to the community, have connections, ask the community for help, and the community will help you. The community is a fantastic community, and then also you help the next guy. Thank you so much for your time. I cannot wait to see you in person, hopefully next year.
Take care.